Evening. This is Rahul Reddy. Every Tuesday from 5 p.m. Central Time to 6 p.m. we bring in immigration updates live. Today we have some very good news and some very good news that may be coming through. Emily, what do you have today to discuss?
Yeah, good news on the legislation front. So HR6542 bill was introduced in the House. This is a companion bill to S3291 that was introduced into the Senate a few weeks ago that we were talking about. It's the bill to remove the per country limit and phase that out over time. So now we have a House version of the bill, we have a Senate version of the bill. So we talk about where that goes from here, what we need to do going forward. And we have the more information is coming out about the ability to renew visas from in the U.S., this domestic renewal policy. Learning that it may not include dependents at this time. So we'll talk about why they made that decision and what the impact will be of that. Also wanted to address a common question that we get, and that is after you have filed an extension application with the Immigration Service and it gets approved, why isn't your I-94 updated online? And then lastly, we'll talk about options if you lose your job. A lot of people have the option of either filing a B2 if they want to stay beyond the 60-day grace period, but some people also have the option of filing a change of status to H4. So we'll talk about which one is better depending on the circumstances.
And the first thing, this HR bill, can you explain how the Congress process before the bill becomes a law? What are the steps involved in it? And I know we've been advocating that last time it went very close, and this time we may be expected, we may expect that to pass if we have enough support within our audiences to keep writing the letters. That's more important, because we have seen a lot of immigration bills that only pass because they keep on advocating for it, but our guys don't. So, but anyway, can you explain the process, what is involved in it, and what is the right time to contact the congressman to have this bill passed?
Yeah, so we definitely have a long way to go. It's at the very beginning stage of the process. So we already have the bill introduced into the Senate. The Senate version of the bill will first be looked at in the Judiciary Committee, and that committee will decide whether they want to make any amendments to the bill or let it go as is. And once it gets passed out of the committee, then it's up to the Senate to decide whether to bring it to the floor for a vote by the whole Senate. Assuming that that happens and there aren't any amendments made at that point, then we look at, does the House have their version of the bill? And for now, we do have the House version of the bill, HR6542. We don't have the text of it yet, but we're assuming that it's going to be exactly the same text as the Senate bill from a starting point, so that's good. So the same thing in the House side. It's going to go into their Judiciary Committee. They might make some amendments. Then they'll pass it out of the committee. Then the House will decide whether to bring it to the floor. And if it goes to the floor, will any final amendments be made? Will they actually pass it? It has to pass by a majority in the House. In the Senate, it really needs 60 votes to pass because they have the filibuster that basically allows any senator to
Out of how many votes is 60 votes, Emily?
I'm sorry?
Out of how many votes is 60?
60 out of 100.
Thank you.
So more than the majority, super majority, basically, is what they refer to.
But when it comes to the House, we don't need it, is it right? We just need a simple majority.
Just a basic majority in the House. So assuming it actually passes both the Senate and the House, and those versions that pass are the same, then it can go to the president to be signed into law. The president has the power to veto it. I don't know why they would, so that's probably not an issue. But if the two versions that end up getting passed are different, then the House and the Senate have to get together in a conference and hammer out the differences and come up with a final bill that both are happy with, and then pass that bill again, and then that can go to the president. So we have to get all of this done in the next 12 months, because next year, at the end of the year, is when this Congress is over, and we'll have to start a new Congress in January 2025. So if we don't get it passed by December 2024, a year from now, the process starts over, which I'm sure people are aware of because that's what happened last time around. So we have a year to get this accomplished, but that doesn't mean there's no urgency. It's very important for your congressman, your senator to know that the reasons why they should support this bill, they should consider co-sponsoring the bill and get it to move forward. The more active we are earlier, the more time we have to get this to the final, cross the finish line this time, because we've gotten closer every year. We've gotten more co-sponsors every time, but we got to make it actually get across the finish line this time.
Similarly, what happened last time? Last time we had it passed in the Senate. We had it passed in the House, and what happened? Why did not it went through to the president?
Yeah, so the version that the Senate ultimately passed was different than what the House version was. And so when the Senate passed it through, they used unanimous consent, and they finally got it passed. It was like the 11th hour at the end of the year, and the House just did not have enough time to get back together and change their version to match the Senate's version and pass it. So everything died at the end of the year because they couldn't get it done in time.
And this is at the time when they're, having Capitol has been raided in United States, first time in the history of United States, since the time we got independence. So definitely it was not a very pleasant period at that time when this bill was passed through the Senate or through the House, but since combination did not work, hopefully so this time, our guys are going to support. Now, there is one major minus point that we have here. I remember when what is the speaker? I don't remember. It passed through the Senate. When it came to the House, they never let it on the table of the House, though. I remember that. Now, that was because the Republicans were controlling the House, and the Democrats. I don't remember Democrats or Republicans controlling the Senate, though. But this time, could this happen that we get through past the Senate and probably we may not pass through the House, because last year, though, last year at this point of time, the House was controlled by the Democrats.
Yeah, it's definitely got its challenges to go through again, which is why it's super important for everyone to be active and reach out to your congressman, reach out to your senator. So at this moment, we do have a draft letter for you, but it's only geared towards the Senate bill since we didn't have a House bill at the time. So once the text of the House bill comes out, I will be updating that. It's on immigrationgirl.com. So as of this moment, we just want people to contact their two senators, and there's instructions on immigrationgirl.com for that for S3291. Once we have the text of HR6542, I will update that to add separate instructions for how to find your congressman and how to send the letter to them, because you're going to have to change the language in it because it's two different bill numbers.
The good part, even though the text is not there, I can take a guess, Emily, where we are going at. It is sponsored by Raja Krishnamurthy, who sponsored last time also, who was one of the main sponsors of the bill. This is also sponsored by Parmila from Washington State. And she is the only one that I confirmly know that she was an H-1B before she moved into getting the green card and eventually citizenship and so on and so forth. So she definitely had experience of H-1B. I know that the content of the bill shouldn't look much different than the Senate. We urge all the people to write letters to the senators right now. Most probably in a week or 2 weeks, we are going to put an update for the House version of it once we know the complete text of it. The reason is that if we just write a letter to the House, if they don't have a text of it, the House members, they may get confused, why am I getting this letter when there is no text in it? Most probably the text will come up next week or this week itself. We're going to ask you to write letters to the congressman. That's the only hope that I think so you guys have to get this bill passed through. Please be inclusive. If somebody says, I don't like this bill to be passed, don't be offensive to them. Try to convince them. Tell your stories in a nice manner. Emily, anything else before we go to the next topic?
Yeah, I think it's really important to definitely empathize with people who may think that this is negatively impacting rest of world. Understand their point of view. There are a lot of people that say, well, this bill doesn't increase the cap, so it doesn't really fix anything, so we shouldn't vote for it. And you can, again, empathize with that, but also explained that in the current economy, the current environment, I guess, political environment, not economy, you know, the idea of increasing the total number of green cards is very likely not going to happen at all. So we would rather make these incremental changes that will at least eliminate the discrimination, put everybody on an even playing field over a 9-year period of time, while we work towards bigger changes later. So we don't want to get rid of the good and not pass anything at all because we're trying to pass the perfect. There's never going to be a perfect bill. There's never going to be a perfect time for it to be passed. So we've just got to work with what we have and try to get that taken care of.
If this bill passes through, most probably the priority date is going to move to 2016-17 in the first year, probably to 18 to 20 the next year, and so on and so forth. It should be very good incremental increase. So the wait period total should come down to about, eventually should come down to about 3 to 4 years wait period. That's what I'm expecting, Emily, if this bill passes through.
And you can file the AOS once your I-140 has been approved for 2 years as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
At least you can get it filed, get the EAD, AP, get the job portability.
And that's a very good news for a lot of people who don't have to depend on H-1Bs every time you have to get the stamping and you have to go outside the country to get the stamping. Emily, what's the good news about this stamping, or bad news? Why does Forbes get the news and we don't get the news?
Right. Yeah. So we are expecting a notice to come in the Federal Register sometime in December. It seems Forbes maybe got an advanced copy or some inside information on that. And so we're expecting the idea of being able to renew your visa in the U.S., domestic renewals, for visa stamping to take place starting in January. So we're a month away from the launch. We don't have an exact date in January yet. It's going to depend on when they actually get it published in the Federal Register, but it's coming. We have little details are being made public, but some information. Number one, it's a pilot program, so they're limiting it to only 20,000 visas. So that's, not a huge number, and likely to be used up pretty quickly just based on the number of people that are on H-1Bs and the number of people needing to travel nowadays. But the other big news that came out this week is they do not have any intention of allowing H-4s to get the stamp in the U.S. with their H-1B spouses.
Is this temporary or is it permanent?
This is likely temporary because obviously when we did have domestic visa renewals before, dependents were included. So we're hoping that will be the ultimate plan going forward. And the only reason they're not including them right now is because it's just a pilot and they're trying to test it out, make sure everything works before they open it up to a wider audience. So it definitely is not the best of news because we see most of the time when H-1B holders travel, their family comes with them. So now do you leave your family here while you go and travel since you got your visa stamp, or do you take them with you and then they, risk them getting stuck? You can come back, but your family's stuck in your home country. So hopefully that's just a temporary necessity in order for them to get this program up and running and off the ground and make sure it works properly.
A lot of people ask me, what are the logistics of filing this application? Typically, it will be very similar to the Dropbox appointment people have in India, where they drop the box. But of course, it's not going to be like manually dropping the box. I'm assuming what I'm telling is right because more details will be coming in. And I have the experience 20 years ago. This system used to be there. Emily, I don't think so. You were a lawyer at that time. Not yet. 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago, we used to mail the application, passports, passport pictures, the DS-160 filled out, of course, original H-1B approvals and H-4 approvals, and then we used to send to Washington, D.C. with a written FedEx thing, which is paid written FedEx thing, coming back to our office in that way that they don't mail in the normal way, snail mail, and we don't know where that's get lost. So they used to mail it. It used to take about a month's period of time before. However, I caution people that that I don't want people to file the application on the first day when thousands and thousands of applications will go. That may confuse the officers there with the amount of load that they have. And what if your passport is stuck there and you can't get the passport? What if they kept on losing the passport packages? Remember what happened in October 2020, Emily, when the priority date was current? No, at that time, we had a deadline to file the application. I mean, we can't file the 485, it's later on, so we had to rush to file the application because we don't know it's going to be current in November or not. But in the same scenario here, though, this is going to, there's no deadline for it. You can file it. I would not like to file on the first day. I would like to see somebody else test it and see how they come out, and then file it again, or maybe do 1 or 2 testings rather than filing thousands and thousands of applications. What do you say, Emily?
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how exactly the DS-160 is going to work because it's online now. So do you fill that out online, and then how are they going to pick the 20,000 that get to renew in the U.S.? Is there going to be a lottery? I mean, 20,000 is definitely not enough for everyone who has travel plans and everyone who has an H-1B in the U.S. right now. So I'm curious how that's going to work. I definitely would not rush to send anything off on that first day, like you said. Let's see how it's kind of works a little bit. Make sure that, because they've not given us any information about what the expected processing time will be either. And if they're bombarded with 20,000 passports in a week, are they really going to be able to get through those in a fast time, or are they going to delay 4 months in issuing receipt notices like we saw in October 2020? This government is not known for efficiency. They're not known for planning things out properly and having resources ready. And I have a feeling they're underestimating the number of people that are going to be trying to do this. So I really am curious how they're going to decide which 20,000.
What will happen if my application is 20,020? I mean 20,001. That they only do pilot for 20,000. Now this is a pilot program which expected to expand at a later date. It's not expected to over after the pilot program is over is done. That's what I'm assuming, Emily. Okay, we go to the next topic, Emily. The next topic would be...
Yeah, so what happens when you file your, when you travel into the U.S., you get your I-94 online, you have to go to that cbp.gov website, and before it expires, you file your H-1B extension with USCIS, and they issue you approval. What's your I-94? Where do you get it? Do you go back online to get the new I-94?
No, Emily, the H1 or H4 or whatever the non-immigrant visa approval should have an I-94 at the bottom. And not only that, the online I-94, when you entered into United States, the number of that, the I-94 number will be the same as what I-797 I-94 at the bottom will have it. Now, the extension, let's say, for example, I'm an H-1B, my H-1B is expiring in December 2023, and I filed for an extension, and I got the H-1B extension along with the I-94 at the bottom, which is valid until December 2026. The online system may not reflect that the I-94 expiring in December 2026. It may still say December 2023, but as long as you have the H-1B or H-4 approval that says that you have an I-94 at the bottom, and you can see when there is the I-797A and I-797B. Normally, I-797A is the one that comes with the I-94. I-797B does not come with the I-94. So when you can see there is at the bottom, there is an I-94. If that I-94 says it is 2026, you are good, you are safe. If by any chance the H-1B approval comes in without I-94, then definitely you have to check with a lawyer. Now, how about H-4 though? H-4 approvals will only come with the I-94. Absolutely, it only comes to I-94. It will not come with I-797B without I-94. It can only come with I-797A with the I-94. Of course, the courtesy copy that you may receive it, your employer may receive it, might not have an I-94, but your company's lawyer has the H-4 approval that has the I-94 at the bottom. So don't get panicked. H-4 cannot be approved without the I-94. It has to be, when H-1B, when you apply for the extension, it should have an I-94 at the bottom. If it's not, then definitely there's some problem there. You have to contact your immigration lawyer.
All right, last topic is situation of job loss, which we're still seeing that commonly right now. So, we have the option of the 60-day grace period as long as the I-94 has not expired. A lot of times 60 days is not enough, especially as we're in December. No one's hiring in December. It's very difficult to do that right now if you're in your 60-day grace period. So some people might consider filing a change of status to B2 based on the policy that came out early this year from the Biden administration. Other people might have an H4 option if their spouse is on H1B. Which one is a better option for people?
Absolutely H4. If there is a B2 option and a H4 application, always H4. The only time that I do not choose a H4 application is if you are certain that your spouse your job is going to get lost, is not going to it's not going to be there. If the spouse is going to lose the job, that is the time where I may choose B2. Otherwise, it's always H4, not B2 application, because B2 is temporary. It's only 6 months. H4 is for depending on when your spouse H1B expires, and they can extend it though. Now, a lot of people ask this question, Emily. Oh, they only said in their Twitter account where they said that if you move to the B2 and while the B2 is pending, you can move back to the H1B and they will approve the change of status if you file a premium processing with the I-94 so that you can start working for the company. Now, the same rule is applicable for H4 also. We have done time and time again. Absolutely not a problem. You can apply for H4, and while the H4 is pending, if you get a job, you can move back to the H1B without going outside the country. And Emily, when these people move to B2 and when these people move to H4 and they want to come back to the H1B, do they have to go through the lottery system again?
No, the great news with that is once you're counted in the cap once, you don't have to be counted again as long as you have time left on your 6-year limit, or if the 6-year limit no longer applies because you have an approved I-140 with a priority date that is not current. So you don't have to worry about the lottery again. And the other great thing with the H4 is if your H1B spouse also has their own I-140, you can also apply for the H4 EAD along with it. And yes, when you're filing just the H4 and the H4 EAD by itself, that processing time might be long, but it's very possible that the H1B spouse's company may be willing to file an H1B amendment in premium processing and include the H4 and the H4 EAD along with it. So all three can be approved in premium processing so that you will have continuous employment authorization for when you get that new job. And you can decide more comfortably when you want to switch back to H1B if you want to. So we've seen a number of companies where it's the spouse that's about to lose their status, and the company is willing to file an amendment, even if it's not necessarily mandatory for them to file an amendment, just so that they can file an H1B in premium with H4 and H4 EAD and get all three approved together in premium.
What's the reason they can give for filing an amendment, Emily?
We don't even have to give a reason, but I mean, if there's any change in the salary, the slightest change in the work location, maybe you moved from suite A to suite B, maybe you added one job duty or took a job duty away. I mean, they don't even ask why you're filing it. They'll happily take the filing fee money and issue you an amended H-1B approval. I've never had an issue where they question why exactly we're filing this.
Anything else, Emily, before we go to Q&A?
I think we're good to go.
Can I apply EAD and AP renewal 10 months before its expiration? If you're doing that, though, what I would suggest is file a EAD and AP, but within this, before it expires, if you still don't get an approval, file one more time. The reason is that there are very rare cases that we got denials, but if you file an EAD in 10 months and in 10 months you still don't get the approval of the EAD, and then you get a denial later on, then you will have to stop working. So what I would do is that if you file an EAD and AP, and if you don't get an approval before your EAD and AP expires, I will file it again.
Speaking of changing status to B2, Zorif says, I got laid off last week on H-1B and I have 9 months of H-1B left. What are the chances that they'll just give me a 1-day B2 approval if I've applied for it? I've heard they're doing that lately. So when you apply for the change of status to B2, you request a specific start date and you request a specific end date that can be no more than 6 months. Now, a lot of the B2s are pending more than 6 months. And so if you're staying in the US relying on that and have not filed a change of status back to H-1B yet, we do sometimes see they'll issue an approval of the B2, and by the time you get it, it's already expired because that 6 month stay you've requested is up. Beyond that, I've not really seen a lot of that with I-539s that I've filed. Typically, the change of status back to H-1B has already been filed and approved. And then sometimes we just get a notice saying we're closing this B2 because you don't need it anymore. Today I got an RFE on the I-539 saying we noticed that your H-1B has been approved after you filed this. Please confirm if you would like to withdraw, and then you can withdraw it. So I think most of the time these B2s are working as intended. Sometimes weird things happen with them. It may be based on documentation that's being submitted with it or how the form's being filled out. I don't know, Raul, are you seeing any weird B2 approvals like that?
B2 approvals for how many days?
For just a day when you're filing after an H-1B?
We have seen that, especially they put the approval date as, let's say, December 5th, and they only give until December 6th. We have seen that very rarely, though, very rarely.
But it was this cases where people had already changed status back to H-1B?
That is right. I've seen them in that case. Question. Casey is asking, wrote letters to the senators. Thank you so much, Casey, that you did a good job. Why, can you give a draft to write letters to the congressman too? At this point of time, we don't have the bill. Text of it, we just know that it's been introduced. Once we have the text of it, we are going to draft it, and we're going to put the link in the YouTube so that you can go there and write a letter just like the way you did for the senators.
Govinda says, after an I-140 is approved, when can one change from EB2 to EB3 or vice versa if it's possible? So it depends on your labor certification. If your labor certification was filed for a position that qualifies for EB2 and you get that EB2 I-140 approved, at any time the same company can file an I-140 in the EB3 category using that same labor certification, and you get the same priority date because EB2 perm labor certifications and I-140s always qualify for the EB3 category. Going the other direction is not the same. If it's an EB3 perm, it's not possible to just refile that in EB2. You've got to get a new labor certification done. So anytime after that first I-140 is approved, that priority date becomes yours. So if you later file another perm that's now in EB2, when you're filing that later EB2 I-140, you can request to port the priority date from your old EB3 I-140 to your new EB2 I-140 and have approval notices in both categories with the same priority date.
Arno has this question. He got his green card approved. His job title was product manager, and it's been 4 months that his green card was approved. Now his title is going to change to senior solution architect. Will that impact his green card and citizenship at a later date? No, it will not impact your green card. It will not impact your citizenship. It will not impact anything. You're fine to do that job. If you want to, you can be a Microsoft CEO. If you want to, you can flip a burger in McDonald's. Since you already got the green card, I don't care what you do, as long as you don't do any illegal jobs. Like maybe if you're a marijuana dealer or a heroin dealer, no, definitely not. But if you want to be a Microsoft CEO, or if you want to flip a burger in McDonald's, you are fine to do it. You already got the green card.
A couple of people asking about a third round of the H-1B lottery. It definitely feels late for that to happen. We still anticipate it happening. I can't imagine that they've received enough petitions to fill the cap based on the additional numbers that they selected, but maybe they did. So regardless, one way or another, we will get an announcement either, well, if there's another round of lottery, they typically don't announce anything. They just start sending selection notices out. But if they have decided that they have reached the cap, there will be an announcement for that as well. And the submissions in the H-1B lottery system will change from submitted to not selected, and then we'll know for sure that there won't be another round. But I think it's still possible.
Abhinav is a physical therapist. That's good. You're doing a good job. And he has a concurrently filed H-1B. Can he work on 1099 with a concurrently filed H-1B? The answer is no. You cannot work on a 1099 for a H-1B. Supposed to pay you every whatever the bi-weekly, weekly, whatever the cycle of their payroll is, they have to pay you only paycheck, not 1099. Sam has this question: Can he buy a home on the H-1B? Is that going to create any problem for the green card? Absolutely not. It won't create any problem whatsoever at all for you to get the green card. He has a second question: What if I default on the loan? Will it be any problem for getting the green card? We haven't seen that as a problem at all, even if you default on the loan. But my personal advice is try to buy within your reach home, guys.
Cozy Eggs says, my AP has been pending since June while the EAD was approved. Is there a way to expedite this process? So we typically have not had success with using the USCIS expedite criteria to get an advanced parole faster, but we have had success with filing lawsuits. So under the Administrative Procedures Act, any government agency is required to complete all of their processes within a reasonable period of time. And if they don't, that creates a mechanism for any applicant to sue that particular agency for an unreasonable delay. So this isn't something that's just for immigration. It's for every single government agency. So you do have the option of filing a lawsuit in federal court under the APA, arguing that the delay from June 2023 in approving the advanced parole is unreasonable. Once we file that lawsuit, the government has 60 days to respond to it in court. A lot of times they just approve the AP and then we withdraw the lawsuit. So if you want more information on that, you can contact Stephen Brown in our office and he will give you more information.
Emily, I want your attention on this particular comment made by Roy Budatia from Facebook, though. He's saying that this bill will never pass.
Well, with that attitude, of course not. I think there's very much a lack of will when it comes to this bill from the people that are wanting it and needing it. Everyone assumes that someone else is going to do the work for them. Everyone asks us to do the work for them. You know, that's why it's so important that every single person who's experiencing this 134-year backlog be in contact with their congressman to explain how it impacts them. Explain it to your friends. Explain it to your American friends. They don't know. I mean, most people I talk to that are not in immigration have no clue that this is how our system works, and they think it's ridiculous. Get their help. They, you know, talk to your employer, get their help. Talk to your church. You need more allies. But if we all just assume it's never going to happen and do nothing, or assume that the person next to you is going to take care of it and you don't have to do anything because someone else will, then of course it's never going to pass.
One of the things that I want to suggest, Roy, is that first of all, it did pass last year. It did pass through Senate. It did pass through the House too, but it was because of what was going on with Trump at the time. And they didn't focus on it. That's the reason we didn't have enough time. It was only like 1-2 hours left, and that's a lot of important things to take care of it. Now, we call that from November onwards, once the election happens, to January, we call that as a lame duck session. Why do we call that a duck session? In the November, we have elections for the House. The entire House gets elected, and 1/3 of the senators get elected again. So, but they don't come into the Congress until January, though. So from November onwards to January onwards, you will have these old congressmen. They normally dare to pass a legislation. So we had last time very good progress on it. As Emily was pointing out, we just need that extra push. I have seen some movements. I don't know if you guys are, a lot of guys are involved in politics in India. You have seen this Andhra Telangana thing that went on. How many years they fought? 60 years we had to fight to get our state. Yeah, continuously we had to fight. From the beginning, we are being told we have to fight for this one. We fought. Now here, I would put the same analogy here. Now, please, if you're on the favorites, don't curse me. Just, I'm citing an example of it. This is a football game or a soccer game. Let's say we are a soccer game. They can hit us 100 goals. We only need one goal. Once we hit that goal, that's it. The game ends. And the bill will be passed. Once the bill is passed, it's signed. We only need to win one time. Yes, did we lose a lot of times? Did we lose 5 times, 6 times, 7 times? More than that? Absolutely, we lost. We lost so many times. But we only need one victory. And once we won, that's it. The priorities are going to automatically move very fast. Now, another suggestion to you, Roy. I know that there are a lot of people in the same position where you are. You are coming to this show. I mean, you are spending the time on this one to listen to us, to comment on us. Thank you for doing so. Make that extra 5 minutes to write a letter to the congressman and senator. Nothing wrong. What else can we do? There is nothing else we can do other than writing letters to the congressman. If there is anything else to contact the congressmen and senators, do it. Your own way, you do it. We are suggesting to write a letters. Or Emily suggests actually to go and meet with the congressmen and senators. As a group, you can make an appointment with the congressmen. There'll be assistants in the congressman's office that you will go and discuss with those things. You can make an appointment and go there. What else? What other options we have? Other than, as Emily has pointed out, 134 years. You have the time to wait for 134 years? No, I don't. You don't either. So let's try to think positive and try to keep on fighting on it.
All right. Feroz says, I got laid off while my perm is pending. Can I ask my employer to keep the perm? So with perm, there's no set requirement that the company has to inform the DOL to immediately withdraw the labor certification in that situation. So they can allow it to continue to process and eventually get approved, but they're likely not going to move forward with your I-140 filing if that permanent position is no longer available to you. And you don't get any benefit really out of having a pending perm unless it's been pending for more than 365 days and you need to use it to get an extension beyond the 6-year limit. But even if they kept the perm going, they're not going to file the I-140 for you. So you're not going to get that priority date. It's not going to give you any benefit. So I'm not sure if it's helpful to ask them to keep it going. Maybe you've got some different circumstances, but generally they'll let it keep going and then just won't file the I-140 once it gets approved. But if it's audited, then they have to respond to the audit and then they can withdraw at that point.
Vedant Bardoloi from YouTube, he wrote letters to 2 North Carolina senators. Thank you very much. That's a very good thing. And we will draft for House, and please write the letters to the House congressman of your local congressman. You don't have to be U.S. citizen to write letters to petition to the Congress. You don't have to be U.S. citizen. You don't have to be the voter. You just need to be in the United States, and that's it. If you have some need, you can write a letter to the congressmen and senators. Texo has this question: received NOIR for multiple filings of the H-1B. Can he now move to the H-4? First of all, I just want to explain what is this NOIR, Notice of Intent to Revoke. For those people who filed multiple H-1B applications, this happens very commonly in the issue. The USCIS approves the H-1B for some reason. I don't know why they can't catch it before. When they have put everything on their website saying that so many people have filed a duplicate applications, why could not they have denied the H-1B at that time, but anyway, they don't deny it. They approve the H-1B, and once they approve the H-1B, then what they do is that they will come and revoke the H-1B. Sometimes it may be the same H-1B. Sometimes it may be that you have transferred from company A to company B. If company A was involved in multiple filings, they may revoke the company B's H-1B also. I would strongly suggest that you should consult an immigration lawyer. You may file a H-4, but there is a chance that H-4 might be denied. You need to have plan A, plan B to deal this situation. I strongly urge that you contact an immigration lawyer.
Varun says, why is there no advocacy for EAD and AP, but there is for these bills that are supposedly dead on arrival? Well, I would challenge you to go to immigrationgirl.com and scroll down from the very top article, which is for S3291, to the very second article, which is a letter writing campaign to support EAD and AP for those that are in the backlog. So yes, there is advocacy for that as well, but it's up to you to do it. I can't do it for you. It's not going to do any good for me as one immigration lawyer to send a letter when thousands of immigrants could send a letter. Which one is going to have more impact? Me as one person or lots of you? So you guys have to do this. The template's there for you. The instructions are there for you. Go ahead and do it. You'll find a lot of advocacy efforts on immigrationgirl.com. And then another person had asked about, can we write letters to improve AP processing times? Absolutely. We did this when the October 2020 visa bulletin, we were finding out that green cards were going to be wasted because the processing times were so terrible. We had a huge letter writing campaign.
Oh, yeah.
And yes, at that year, there were visas that went wasted. But guess what? The next year, they didn't do that. They realized their mistake because we called attention to it, because of our letter writing campaign. I didn't see anyone else doing that. So yes, absolutely, I can help. I can post the sample letter for you, tell you who to send it to, but it's up to you guys to actually send the letters. It's all about volume and quality of letters, and to make these efforts actually take effect.
Abhi has this question. Rahul, if the bill passes, actually, you will lose your immigration fees. No, absolutely not. Abhi, it will be very profitable for me. Believe me, if you would be coming to me, I'm going to charge you 50% higher than normal, even 100% higher than normal. If I tell you I'm going to give you the green card in immediately, you don't care how much money you pay. You believe me. Believe me, I was a client before I became a lawyer, and I know that if I can tell people, if I can tell right now, I'm going to get you the green card in 3 years, believe me, there are people who will stand in line and put 3 times, 4 times the money what they will normally shell out. But if I tell them, oh, you're going to get the green card in 134 years, like they're going to negotiate everything with me, which is not like, I don't like that one. I like people's wallet to just open and give the money to me. And then, yes, we will get a lot more clients. We are busy with our practice. We will get more clients if you, and the shorter time that we can manage the clients, the more happier the client will be. We have clients that have filed a green card application in 2015 that still did not get the green card, and they are cribbing and whining and whatever not. And believe me, I was a client. I will do that too. But if I would tell them that, okay, I'll get you the green card in 2 to 3 years, believe me, they will be very happy and they will be willing to spend any kind of money. I was a client before, and I know how to charge more in those particular situations. There's nothing wrong with it. We'll make more money.
Sri Kamal says, my I-140 was approved under the EB1C category, and more than 180 days have passed since approval. I also have an approved EAD, but not the advanced parole. I'm currently on L1. Am I allowed to change jobs on EAD? Well, since you mentioned that you have an EAD and a pending AP, I'm assuming that means you also have a pending 485. So assuming that your 485 has been pending for at least 180 days, then you qualify for AC-21. What is AC-21? It's a law that was passed 2 decades ago that was meant to improve job portability for people in this exact situation. So yes, you can move to a new job using your EAD. as long as the new job is similar to the job that you were sponsored for on that EB1C. So it should be a similar managerial or executive type of role. And you can use your EAD to begin work for that new employer. However, once you do that, because your AP is still pending, you're not going to be able to travel until you get your AP approved, because you no longer will be in L1 status. So just be aware of that.
Augustia says he's willing to pay the money, extra money. Yeah, believe me, everybody will be willing to pay the extra money. Whoever, 95% or 98% of the people will be willing to pay the extra money if the priority days moves faster. And those 5% of the people who are not willing to pay the money, I don't want them anyway. So don't worry about profits for us, guys. What is profitable for you is very important. What is profitable for you is that when the priority date moves forward, though, definitely filing an adjustment of status. Even if the I-140 is approved and for 2 years you will file the adjustment of status, it is very beneficial for you. And I don't think so I have to explain in detail why it's beneficial for you. You already know it. You're already our audiences. You know that. Don't worry about us. You just focus on writing the letters. And don't be satisfied with writing the letters. Try to meet the congressman. And when you draft a letter, though, try to be a little bit more personalized. Make sure you change it, though. Don't just copy paste everything and do it. Please customize that letter, though. The content mostly is the same, that you want this bill to be passed. Why? You have to explain your personal circumstances much better. And we also recommend that form a group of 10 people and then meet the congressman within your local area where you're residing. Let's say you're living in an apartment complex, and then get together 10 people and then make an appointment with the congressman's office and go and meet with them. And then when you meet with them, take the memorandum with you, the letter that we are going to draft, to take it with you to get so that not only you tell them, but you give them in writing. The congressman's assistants, so there will be people who are assigned only for immigration. Now, these are government employees. Those people who are being paid by the government, but employed by the congressman's office. When you go and represent them, it's a government paid employee that is actually responding to you. And they will look into the details and they will tell the congressman, look, congressman, there are 10 people who came in, they're all living in this country. They will tell a summary of it. Will they tell everything, each? Will they tell John Doe came in, his wife's name is so and so? They won't tell, but they will tell the summary of it. It will impact. Now, I know that sometimes when you go speak with these congressmen and senators' office, though, some of these immigration people are completely anti-immigration. It's okay. You present yourself there, okay? Whatever you have to present, that's okay. If they're anti, you still try to convince them, and that's okay. Come back. Just because the person is in favor of your legislation, do you need to go to them? Yes, you still need to go to them. Because remember that there are some immigration channels that are anti-immigration that doesn't want this bill to be passed. So they will be writing the letters and you will be writing the letters. So you want to go to the congressman who is supporting, you have to go to them. The congressman who completely opposes also, you still need to go to them. You still need to write the letters.
Abhi says, my AP has been pending for more than a year and I'm planning to go outside the country and enter back on H1. Will it impact my application? So I'm going to assume that you have a pending 485 and you are also maintaining your H1B status, and you have a pending AP that's taken forever. So if you're in H1B status and you exit and re-enter in H1B status, that does not impact your 485 at all. Only H and L is like that. Any other visa category, if you leave without an advance parole, it can abandon your 485. That does not happen for H and L. However, it will abandon your I-131, your advance parole application. So as soon as you come back, you need to refile your advance parole, and hopefully this time around it will be approved faster than 1 year.
Question from Ajay Kumar Nandikhanti from YouTube. Once he gets the green card, can he just go to India and stay? Will there be any restrictions when we get the GC or citizenship? There are two different things he asked the question. First, when you get the GC, it's actually called, it's a common term we use as a GC, green card. Now, in between, they actually changed the green card to pink color also. When I got the green card to the guy, they say, hey, I paid you for the green card, you give me a pink card. No, he was just joking. That's fine. So anyway, now they turn back into green card. It's actually called as a permanent resident of United States. You are supposed to reside in United States permanently. So if you're planning to go stay in India, it's going to create a problem for your citizenship. It's going to create a problem for your green card also. They may revoke your green card. If you go for more than 1 year without permission, your green card is automatically canceled. You don't have to do anything. Let's say, for example, you leave on December 5th of 2023 and you're coming back in January of 2025 and you don't file any application, that's it. Your green card is over. So definitely, if you have any plans that where you are going to spend substantial time in India, you need to check with your lawyer to make sure if that's okay. What is substantial time? I would say that if you're going for 1 month, 2 months vacation every year, or maybe 3 months vacation every year, absolutely not a problem. On the green card, absolutely not a problem. Whenever your trip is more than 180 days outside the country, I strongly recommend that you speak with a lawyer, look into the adverse consequences when you apply for the citizenship. So please check with your lawyer on that. Now, when it comes to the citizenship, though, once you get a citizenship, are there any restrictions? Zero, zip, none. You can stay in India for 20 years. I think so, Emily, there is some restriction that if the US citizen goes to India and he has a baby there, that baby also is a US citizen because born to the US citizen parent. But I think so the grandchild of, with the child not coming into the United States, the grandchild may have some difficulty. That's something too far. If anybody has that question, you can consult. I will research that. But as far as the restrictions, if you want to go and stay for 10 years on citizenship without ever coming back into the United States on a US citizenship, you have no problem, none whatsoever at all on the US citizenship.
All right. AS says, my I-140 was revoked after 6 months by the employer. I came back to the same employer. Do they need to start the GC from scratch? So when you say revoked, I'm going to assume that you mean they withdrew it because you left the company, and then that caused the I-140 to be revoked. And I'm assuming this happened more than 6 months after the I-140 was approved. Assuming that they're offering you the same permanent position that was on your labor certification, they can refile the I-140 using that same old expired labor certification to bring it back to life. But if the job is going to be different than what you were originally sponsored for, then they're going to need to start a perm over from scratch, but you can retain your priority date from the earlier I-140.
Ashish has this question. If I entered an advance parole, if I use advance parole to travel and come back, is the H1 going to disappear or is it still active? Well, each lawyer has a different way of answering this question. Emily and I have a light disagreement though. Now, if you travel on advance parole, your H1 validity is still there. Once you come back, I say you are still on H1B. Emily might disagree with me on that, but you can extend the H1B, you can amend the H1B, you can transfer the H1B. So for me, if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, laughs like a duck, it is a duck. So that's what I say. Now, there are some lawyers that say you are on advance parole, like Emily probably is one of the persons, but it's you can extend the H1B, you can transfer it, you can amend it. So I don't see why it is an advance. They are on advance parole. I see that they are on H1B. But if your lawyer is telling no, you're on advance parole, that's fine. It's not a bad deal. You can always extend the H1B. You can always transfer it. It's not the end of the day for you.
Sam says, can I retain my priority date if I leave the U.S. right after my I-140 approval? And can the employer revoke it even if I leave the U.S. the next day? So your priority date is retained always unless your I-140 is revoked due to fraud or misrepresentation, or the labor certification is invalidated by the Labor Department because something was wrong with the labor certification process. So in general, you can always keep the priority date going forward, regardless of whether the company withdraws it, regardless of whether it's withdrawn within 180 days or after 180 days, it doesn't matter. That's your priority date for every subsequent I-140 petition.
Question. Kranti Kumar Parupalli has this question. How do I know if my I-140 has been withdrawn after I left the firm after 180 days? Typically, I may be wrong, but if you are working for the company within 180, after 180 days you left the company though, now here is the thing, they don't withdraw until you leave the company. Now, if they withdraw it after 180 days, it is as good as it's not been withdrawn. Technically, they can withdraw after 180 days. But if they withdraw after 180 days, you can use that I-140 to extend the H-1B. Let's say, for example, you got an I-140 approval with company A, and then you are working with, you move to company B using that I-140. Once you moved and more than 180 days afterwards, and they have withdrawn the I-140 application, it is as good as it's not been withdrawn because they have withdrawn it after 180 days. So from company B, if you want to extend the H-1B, you can extend the H-1B using the company A's I-140, even though it's been withdrawn. You can move from company B to company C using the company A's I-140 approval. You can have your wife, your spouse get an H-4 EAD using the I-140 that's been withdrawn after 180 days.
Krishna says, I'm on my final year of my H-1B 6-year limit, and my employer filed my perm a few months ago, but it's not yet approved. Can I file for my H-1B extension based on my perm that's still in process? It depends on when the perm was filed. So to use a pending perm to extend beyond the 6-year limit, your perm had to have been filed at least 365 days before your 6-year limit will be reached. So if your 6-year limit is going to be January 1st, 2024, if they filed the perm December 2022, so that's more than 365 days before your 6-year limit, and the perm is pending today, you can file the extension now to get a 1-year extension based on the pending perm, because it will have been pending for 365 days by the requested start date. But if yours was only filed a few months ago, the perm cases are taking 11 months to be approved right now. So you need to factor that in and figure out exactly when are you going to hit your 6-year limit? Was your perm filed in time? If not, then you've got to hope that both your perm and I-140 can get approved in time. But definitely figure that out now. Don't wait until 1 month before your 6-year limit is going to be reached, because there are things you could do now. You could take some strategic vacations outside the US to be able to recapture time in order to move that 6-year limit further out to be able to be eligible for that 7th-year extension. But if you wait until the last minute, you're going to be stuck.
Question with regards to how do I know that whether my I-140 has been withdrawn? The best and easiest way to know is you can file a Freedom of Information. It's online. You can Google it, FOIA, USCIS. If you have an A number, you can just give the A number, request an A file. They'll give you the entire I-140 petition. It doesn't have an approval though, but it has, when it has been approved, and if it's been withdrawn, when it's been withdrawn, it will be there on the first page of the I-140 application, and it's a government. You directly go to the USCIS to get the information from them. Arun Raju has this question that he founded a company in GCEAD. He doesn't see that it's going to make money in the first year. Will that be a problem? My main question will be that, assuming that you are the primary applicant. Now, Emily, I want your opinion on this. The person opened a company on AOSCAD, assuming that he's the primary applicant, okay? And he's working for that company, and he's not working for any of the other companies, though. And I'm going to answer it and correct me if I'm wrong. So if he doesn't have the paycheck running, he may end up into trouble at a later time. May,
yeah, that's possible.
Yeah,
obviously,
but
with
it will be
EAD,
better that it would be better to have the paycheck so that when you go to the USCIS interview or an RFE, it'll be easier. Of course, we can defend them saying the job offer is there with the current employer. I know that you have done a lot of representation with going to self-employed people. How does that work out, though?
Yeah, so typically we would show that the company is up and running. So they have the tax ID number, they have a website, they have a bank account, and there's been some activity going on that company, and provide an explanation of what the job duties will be in the Supplement J form. So we have the new company, the self-employed company, out the Supplement J form just like any other company would. And we've not faced any issues with that. It's certainly riskier than other options, but it can work if it's done correctly.
That's the reason I wanted your opinion, Emily, whether I'm telling the correct thing or not. Okay. Anything else, Emily, before we close?
I think we are out of time for today. So please go to immigrationgirl.com and take that template letter, use those instructions, send a letter to your senators for your state, ask your friends to do it, post about it on social media so other people will do it. Don't give up. Don't be the one that says, oh, someone else will do it, or it's not my job. It is your job if you want this to actually happen.
If you want to consult me, Emily, or any of our colleagues in Reddy Neumann PC, you can go to rnlawgroup.com and then our schedules are available online. You can block a time that suits you. And the link, what Emily is speaking about, Immigration Girl, is provided in this video at the bottom. You can find that link for immigrationgirl.com. Thank you.